I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the shooting of Kentucky Judge Kevin Mullins. This case has raised a lot of questions and has the rumor mill working overtime in eastern Kentucky as everyone tries to figure out why the local sheriff would shoot the local judge. Here's the story. This is the town of Whitesburg in Letcher County, Kentucky. It's a place where folks get to know each other because there just aren't a ton of people living here. That community is even smaller in the local criminal justice system, where everyone knows everyone. That's why no one suspected anything violent or dangerous was going to happen when the local judge, Kevin Mullins, and the sheriff, Mickey Stines, had a closed-door private meeting inside the judge's chambers. But what happened next, no one in this small town expected. The sheriff asking the judge for his phone, then making a call to his teenage daughter, whose number was already in the judge's phone. Then the sheriff shot and killed the judge. All of it was recorded on video. Sheriff Mickey Stines is now charged with first-degree murder after surrendering himself immediately afterwards and telling officers, quote, "They were trying to kidnap my wife and my kid." And now, even with all this information, many are still wondering why the judge was shot and killed. That is the question. That's what the case is about. That's what the trial will be about. And that's what everyone wants to know and to understand. You know, why would he do this? Now, in the preliminary hearing, the video, a truncated portion of the video of the two men in the judge's chambers was played. But it was played on a screen, it was on an angle, the color was off, the perception was really off on what you could see. Well, now we have a clean version of that video. So I'm about to show it to you. Now, a couple things about the video. We're not going to show you the gun actually firing. So the video will freeze at 3 different points, and it'll be obvious to you, but that's the moment when the gun is discharged. So the video freezes, that's when the gun is actually being fired. Once we freeze it, we go past those couple frames of the firing of the weapon, and then the video will continue. So you understand what you're about to see. A couple of things from this video that you need to understand. Like, they're in this closed door meeting together, and these are guys who know each other. They're not strangers at all. This is small town America and Appalachia. And these are guys who know each other. These are guys who are seemingly friendly to one another. So at the moment all this is happening, this has to be an absolute shock to the judge. So let's take a look now at this video. There's no audio recorded. It was just a video camera that was in the judge's chambers. And as we watch it, you can see, and right there is when the gun is fired for the first time. And then he walks around to the left side, the judge literally trying to get cover in the corner, and once again, the gun is fired a second time. Now, you can see the judge is crawling under the table, is still alive, and then he crouches down and fires the gun for a third round of shots. Now you know why the reaction was what it was inside that courtroom from the judge's family, the wails that we heard coming from, because they saw it. They saw it without the video pausing and stopping. But these are two men in a situation. We don't have any audio. We don't know what they're saying. We don't know the conversation. So that brings me to my first question of this investigation. Since we don't have the audio, what does their body language reveal? Two men who know each other in this closed space. What are we taking away from their body language in this moment? Because we cannot hear anything because there's no audio recording of it. Joining me to work through this, body language expert, New York Times bestselling author of You Can't Lie to Me, Janine Driver. Janine, thank you so much for being here. This is a huge story with a huge question of why, which hasn't been answered. But what I want to understand a little bit better is what's happening between these two men during these fatal moments in the judge's life. So we broke it down into 3 different sections. So let's start by taking a look at the first section, and as we watch it, just tell me what you're noticing, what you're seeing, what you think is important, and what it means. So let's get to that first piece. Just tell me what you're seeing, Janine.
Right now. Okay, go. So that step back, sorry about that, Vinnie, and you at home. That step back, that's called psychological distancing. As a matter of fact, he takes 3 steps back, the sheriff. And this is cognitive preparation. It's preparing the shooter here, the sheriff, mentally, and it's helping us gain control of our emotions. I want you to think about something, Vinnie, and you at home. I'm here, and you and I are in an argument, Vinnie, right? This happens with cops all the time. We're in an argument. I'm the daughter of Lorraine, a nurse for elderly homeless people who passed 11 years ago, and the daughter of an auto mechanic who fixes fire trucks. I'm the mother of 3 sons. When I'm in your face, I'm still Janine. This 3 steps back, Vinnie, and you at home, is psychological distancing. Janine's not going to shoot you, but all of a sudden we get this distance from our emotions. This is bracing us for impact. It creates what's called a mental buffer, and it decreases our emotional connection to the aggression. So I say, when there's a move back, get ready for an attack. So when there's a move back, you get ready for an attack. It's a pre-assault indicator. He also, look at right here, you at home. He's blading his body. These are pre-assault indicators. I do an all-day class for law enforcement on this, and for school systems on how to be prepared for attacks. So we have him blading his body. He's also kind of rocking back and forth a little bit. Look at this. You see it from his left to his right. This is in my world called evaluating. So we've got the rock, the blade of the body, and then step back. Vinnie, I don't know if you remember a couple of years back now, probably like a decade, there was a school in Florida where the guy his wife gets fired. He spray paints a V on the wall at a school board meeting, puts a circle around it. He eventually shoots at the men on the school board, but he's right up in front of them. He's on top of them. He could have shot while he was there. He doesn't shoot until he's about 20 feet away. Why? This psychological distancing. So that's what we're seeing here. When there's a move back, get ready for an attack.
And how about from the judge in these moments?
In the judge, what you see here, Vinnie, and you at home, is you see this like hand up, and you might be thinking, well, this is ridiculous. The guy has a gun. This is a primal instinct. It's a survival instinct. It increases our alertness. Our heartbeat goes up in this moment. Adrenaline is flooding the body. And here's what's happening. It's a built-in system in our body, Vinnie, and you at home, to have this defense system. Whether it's a knife or someone to come punch you in the face, the hands up, it's part of the fight or flight, the brain's alarm system. This is an ancient automatic system, even though, by the way, he could put the cigarette down. But you're not thinking straight in fight or flight unless you've been prepared. When I worked for ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, they had us every year do a pre-assault indicator course. If someone has a gun in front of me, what do I do? I'm waiting for a distractionary gap. Before I do, I always turn in the same direction. We're constantly being prepared in law enforcement. This judge clearly was not prepared. If he was, he would not have had one hand down with the cigarette. The fight or flight system kicks in, this brain's alarm system. The amygdala, which deals with fear, is sending a message to protect what? Our head, our eyes, our brain. Even though it might seem silly, I promise you, if you ever feel under attack, your hands come up and they will literally, I remember my boyfriend told a story about he got in a car accident and the guy came out ready to smash his face in. My boyfriend just put his hands up calmly and slowly brought them down. And as he began to bring them down, the man's energy calmed down. He snapped back into like being present. So the judge is doing everything right. We do not want to stand up in this situation. You might be saying, well, maybe you should stand up. That would be considered a threat to the gunman. You do not. You want to use calm words, calm tones, unlike we saw in the school system where the guy started the school.
What's also interesting in what you said is that he wasn't expecting it. We haven't seen the build up to this, the rest of the video and what the conversation was like, and if he was totally taken by the fact that the sheriff was now getting deadly. We've got 2 more to get through, so let's get to the second one. And as we watch it, you tell me what you're seeing.
All right, now this is really interesting because now we see the sheriff chasing down the victim here. We see him chasing them down. This is fascinating to me because this is real. He wants to make sure he's finishing the job. As a matter of fact, at the very end, you see, and I don't know if you're going to play, but you see that he does one final shot low right here. Again, we see the judge doing what? Protecting his back of his head. This is primal. The amygdala is firing off, saying we need to protect this very vulnerable area, the back of our neck. But the sheriff with his outreached hand, this is interesting. He is saying to me, I'm not feeling threatened by this judge. I don't think the judge has a gun underneath his desk or a knife. I'm feeling safe enough to hunt him down in this office space. In these moments, our job is to escape as fast as possible. So if I was the judge here, what would I do? I would take that desk and throw that desk as far as I could on that guy. My father taught me a long time ago, he worked for the fire department, an escape is a chair through a window. Like, we need to change the way we think of things. That desk should have 100% been over, pushing him. This is the perfect opportunity. The desk is between who? The victim and the door. Push that desk away from the shooter. Your job is to get out that door and get your safety. So, but he's shot at this point.
Right.
So he's injured. He's probably not thinking straight.
All right, let's get to the final part of the video, which again, you mentioned. Let's take a look at it. And this is as he comes back around the desk.
Oh, so right here, what we see, and this is a sad thing to say, but a lot of people who are in live shootings report they play dead. And right here, we don't see that. We actually see the desk moving. And I think that the shooter, and I don't know, I'm not in his head, but I think he noticed at the corner of his eye, he's getting ready to leave. We face our belly button in the direction we want to head, Vinnie. He is out of here. He's out the door. I call this the belly button rule, or naval intelligence. So he's out the door, but that tiny little movement he sees, he goes and does that one final shot that we see stopping just before it hits. So in these situations, what can you do to keep yourself safe, protected from the shooter in those moments? And guess what? We need to think about these types of things, sadly, in advance today, because there are active shooters in our buildings more often than we might want.
But I can't imagine that the judge in any way, shape, or form expected any of this to happen. The sheriff is the man who protects him in the courthouse. That's part of his job, his responsibility, and his duties. And they're not strangers. They know each other. Now, we don't know what they were talking about in the buildup to all of this, but from everything we see there, the judge initially seemed somewhat comfortable behind his desk, and then everything changed. So it must have changed very quickly and almost like on the dime from some sort of a conversation to a situation.
I would love to know what they were saying, body language-wise, for the judge. I'm not seeing aggression. His lips aren't disappearing. When we don't like what we see or hear, our lips disappear. His chin is not up, which is like, I'm ready to fight you. The judge doesn't stand up. The judge is doing everything right. If I were to change one thing, had he been mentally prepared, which clearly he wasn't, would have been to throw that desk, get away as fast as possible. He did his best hiding underneath the desk. The fact that the sheriff was out, he was hunting. He was hunting right here.
Janine Driver, thank you so much for giving us some insight into a video. This is when you really need body language, when you have a video with zero audio. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we're going to continue here. What else does the video reveal? Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
He's in the suitcase still.
There are multiple domestic violence incidents.
You two hitting each other.
Sarah. That's my name. Don't wear it up.
He's telling you, Sarah, I can't breathe.
George Torres locked inside of a suitcase, begging for help.
I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Monday morning, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
We have always got along. I always thought he was hilarious. I always thought he was very witty. He was fun to be around outside of court. And as a brother-in-law, I will never forget how kind he was to my children. It seemed that he had maybe endless patience for kids.
I was shocked. I was shocked and hurt at the same time, man. I hate to say where Kevin goes because he helped a lot of people out. Sure did, you know.
I would compare it to how I felt when the planes hit the towers in New York. You know, that was that shock. He wanted to help people, and he spent most of his career doing that, especially in the drug rehab program.
We've heard so many nice things about Judge Kevin Mullins from locals, and the same was said about Sheriff Mickey Stines. This makes all of this so confusing as to why the sheriff would do it. So we took a look at the body language from the video. I want you to take another look at the video because there's a lot that we see here that we didn't see when the video was shown in court. There's a lot more happening. The room seems a little bit larger than it did, but when you're looking for evidence and you're trying to figure out what happened, and you have a video of the alleged murder, you've got to examine all the evidence, which brings me to my next question, and it's concerning the video, which is, what else does the video reveal? What else do we see in here? What can it tell us? What questions does it raise? This is the alleged crime scene. This is it. Joining me, retired police commander, author of the book Deceived, and I talk about that because if you go out and buy this book, folks, that money is being donated. So check it out. And he, of course, is the host of the Profiling Evil podcast. Mike King is with us. Mike, thanks so much. I want to go through this video in a couple different pieces, and I want to begin here as we take a look at the video because there was something that really stood out to all of us, the whole team here at VPI. Let's roll that video if we can. And as we watch the video, I also have my eye on the desk here and what's going on the desk. And this is as he's about to exit. If you look in the middle, you can see a phone on the desk. And as the desk is being turned, what happens? It looks like someone is calling at that moment just before the final gunshots as the sheriff exits that room. Mike King, from everything we've heard, that phone seems to be the key to unlocking a lot in this case.
Boy, I agree, Vinny, and like you, that really caught my attention. Number one, we know that from testimony in court that there was a phone call made prior to the shooting, and they have identified that happened to be tied to the sheriff's daughter. The interesting thing to me is, was that a call of warning that my dad's coming down to do something crazy, or was it just that in the heat of the moment, that person calls back and says, what on earth is going on? But that thing is big, wondering what's on that phone, and the forensics on the phone are going to be really important. There are so many other things in this room that really caught my attention as part of this whole thing unfolds, and I'm going to hold off in case we're going to talk about those one by one.
Well, let's start here. Let's start in the beginning of the shooting, when the sheriff first stands up. Before he points the gun at the sheriff, that gun is already in his right hand as he stands up. So I'm trying to understand, right? Because the way it was described, they're both seated, and then the sheriff gets up, and it seems like very quickly he has the gun in his hand. To me, that's significant when you try to get inside the mind of the sheriff.
Yeah, although you do train on how to get that weapon out of the holster in a quick manner, but with this shirt and kind of the unkempt way that the sheriff is dressed, he clearly would have had to have pulled his shirt up. So it makes you wonder if he did that sitting down, and if that's something that could really lean toward premeditation of at least pulling that weapon. Or frankly, Vinny, you train hard, and when you go to use a weapon, you don't think anymore. It's all muscle movement. And pulling that weapon out is a pretty fast motion in and of itself. Now, it's not the old Wild West gun drawing and snapping the hammer on the gun back, but it is a motor motion that you have practiced over and again. And so as I look at it like you, I think, this weapon was probably pulled before he stood up. And if he is sitting right across the desk from that judge and that black backpack, he's got a lot of stuff to conceal any kind of movement along those lines as he prepares for that.
Right, and let's take a look at the video now, focusing on the backpack, but there's actually more than one backpack or case on the desk. And I'm wondering whose they are, what's inside and what could be gleaned from any of it. I like your angle, though, talking about how it sort of obscures the judge from what the sheriff may or may not be doing with his right hand as he is seated. But I also want to know what's in those backpacks, whose are they, why are they on the desk, and everything looks a little messy at this moment inside a judge's chambers.
Yeah, I agree. And if they've just come back from lunch and they both are walking around with their backpacks, maybe it explains why the sheriff can walk into the building and he has a shirt on that maybe they can see that he's not packing a gun. There's the little side on that black backpack is open a little bit, so it makes me wonder, is the weapon secured inside of there, or did he really pull it off of his hip? But then that brown backpack, it really caused me to draw my attention to that willed unit on the ground right next to the judge's left foot. And I wondered, is that all part of a system that he was pulling his luggage along with in that little thing? It's a little kind of a like a roller bag, or is he got a leg injury and he's using that because he's got one leg in a cast. There's so much we don't know, and so many little pieces in this thing that keep saying, well, why is that there? What's the square box on the ground? Is it part of an electrical unit, or is it something that's fallen off of the desk? And why did it end up there before a gun gets pulled? All these things just make you crazy wanting to answer them.
Absolutely. Mike King, appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. A lot more to get to. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.